Hi all, I'm Al Deldegan, the creator and producer of the LIBI podcast. This 100% volunteer-run show was born out of the Rainforest Alberta movement and features incredible people who are leaders, innovators, and have big ideas. The host for this episode is Rea Hailley, and her guest is Terri Davis. Rea, the mic is yours.
Thanks, Al. Today's guest is Terri Davis, founder and CEO of Profound Talent and oolu. Welcome to the LIBI podcast, Terri. I'm excited to learn about your journey and the business you've built.
Hi, Rea. Nice to meet you. And I'm super excited to be connecting with you today and sharing some of my background and information, hopefully to help some of your viewers.
I'm sure you will. So, Terri, tell us about who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. So maybe I'll start with me at the personal level. My background's been a Bachelor of Commerce degree. I followed up and did an MBA as well. And I'm actually a single mom. I raised two daughters from a young age to now 26 and 24. I share that because that experience has actually shaped a lot of kind of the transition of my career as well, and which we'll, I'm sure, get into today. I am actually the founder of Profound Talent and oolu. Profound Talent is an executive and professional level recruitment company, and oolu is a one-of-a-kind AI-driven tech platform that is an end-to-end solution matching the fractional workforce with growing and scaling companies.
Fantastic. And today, I know you talked about oolu, and we're going to dive into that in just a second, but today, how is recruiting typically done?
Yeah, so typically recruitment, there's a number of different ways. Obviously, organizations will have internal recruiters that will handle sometimes the internal recruitment of talent into their organizations. But then there's also agencies, and there's a couple of different types of agencies out there. There's what you call contingency search firms that are basically more at the professional level. They tend to be a bit more transactional and is who you know, and you bring candidates forward, and it's a very manual process. Where we tend to focus, we're what's called a retained search firm. And a retained search firm has exclusive connection in with their client that they're working for on the project that they're working for. And in essence, what we do is we help organizations find the right talent for their position. But again, everything is very manual. Our industry has not innovated. It is trying in some aspects, but it hasn't been super successful. And so we will get into probably some of that, but right now it is a very manual process where we go out to market, we identify top talent, we headhunt or source talent, we attract that talent in, we ultimately need to match that talent to companies, and then ultimately we interview, we write assessments on them, we move the candidates forward to a short list, and then into an interview process, and then further from that into background checks, references, and an offer. So again, everything, it's hard to tell on the outside when you see this process go through, but I would say that a process for an executive search is usually about 3 months from start to finish. And if you saw all the work in the back end of what goes on, it's quite astounding, the time that it takes and the amount of effort that's put in to find the right talent for an organization. So again, going back to a very manual process.
Mm-hmm. Very labor intensive.
Absolutely. Lots of time. And also it's a professional services. So it's a lot of consultation, being a trusted advisor, and ultimately helping organizations get to the next level through their people.
Mm-hmm. And I take it this is why this process needs innovation so badly, because it is so labor intensive and time consuming.
Absolutely. And part of my journey, I've been in the recruiting industry for 25 years. And I've been an individual who's been incredibly curious in watching our workforce and seeing the different trends over time, over that 25 years of what's been happening. And ultimately from that, looking at the workforce, how do we change as businesses to be able to adapt to the workforce need? And then as well, how do we as businesses grow and scale with different demands and different requirements of that workforce? So we're at the forefront of ultimately companies scaling through their people and also what the workforce requirements are and how skills are changing, how people want to work differently. And so one of the things that I've been very involved with and very focused on throughout my entire career is a value that I really attribute to working differently. So I started that as a single mom and started to see that there was a lot of other single parents that were wanting to work differently. And so they wanted to get their kids off to school and come back, leave, pick them up from school, get them off to sports. And so even pre-COVID, we were looking at how can we work differently and how can we help this workforce work differently. And even starting Profound Talent, part of the reason I started our company was because I wanted to be that force of disrupting our industry. And this again was pre-COVID when it was traditional 8 to 5 hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for hours. So we actually implemented a 9 to 3 working time when I first started Profound. That was our first start into working differently. And then over time, we again keep watching that workforce change. And now we have COVID. And now we start to see the workforce changing to wanting flexible hours. They want hybrid or remote. So they want to work differently. They don't want to do things the traditional way. In addition, we have an aging workforce that is starting to depart. We have actually 22% of the marketplace is age 55 years and older, and is going to be departing in the next 10 years and or wanting to work differently. So again, we've got workforce changes that have to be adapted to. And part of what I've been really intrigued about as a business owner is looking at how do we actually be at the forefront of disrupting and adapting to the workforce changes while also still helping businesses grow and scale. So that is also where oolu comes into play.
Yeah, so tell us about oolu and how it is specifically solving this problem.
The workforce is changing, as mentioned, we have an aging workforce that is starting to depart. There has been this concept called fractional workforce, and many of you may know it. Not everybody knows of it yet. And ultimately what fractional means is it means part-time. So to us, a fractional worker is somebody who's a contractor. They're either incorporated or they're a sole proprietor. And ultimately, they are coming into an organization. They're going to work a fraction of the time, meaning part-time, but they don't have an end date. For example, our company, oolu, has actually Profound and oolu have a fractional CMO, we have a fractional CTO, and we have a fractional CFO. So we have it in all different functional areas. And so fractional is a part of the changing workforce that's happening. It's been around a long time, but it hasn't really taken legs until recently. So this is what we're looking to ultimately build into kind of some of the technological changes that we are driving forward with oolu. So we have the fractional workforce. We have growing and scaling companies that can't get to the next level because one, they only have budgets for potentially maybe more junior level talents. They might pay $60,000, $70,000 for somebody, but the founder is still having to be very hands-on in shaping and guiding that individual and can't really release themselves to be more strategic to grow and scale their company. So this is where the fractional talent comes in because you get an executive leadership level experience that can hop in. They can work at the level that you need them to work and take it off your plate as a founder so that you can move your business forward. Also, they're affordable because you can have them for a fraction of the time and they can do that work at a fraction of the time as well because they are usually generally move forward a little faster with it because they've got the experience. So you are getting a fractional employee to come forward, work at a fraction of the cost. You're getting the strategic skill you need and they can roll up their sleeves and move it forward. And you can then scale and grow your business easier. So oolu is meeting that need of helping growing and scaling companies find talent at a fractional level. So it's a matching platform, in essence, an end-to-end AI automated matching platform where candidates join, they onboard, put in their credentials, companies join, they state they might need a fractional chief marketing officer, and oolu uses AI-driven technology to ultimately do a match, which takes time away from doing, for example, a founder having to post on a traditional job board and having to scour through hundreds of resumes to find the right talent. They're actually having it served up and said, here's a candidate who's 90% aligned. Would you like to swipe right on that person or swipe left? And if it's a swipe right, it means, yes, I'm interested. And then similarly, companies and their positions are served up to candidates and they do the same, which also serves a communication issue that most candidates today say, I don't know what's going on with my application. It's going into the black hole and I don't hear anything. With oolu, we're making sure that we're linking that communication so that once there's a match, you know there's a match and you can move forward to continuing the conversation to move that process forward. And then from that, it actually goes into a process that is meant to allow it to be easy and vetted candidates for that growing and scaling company. So it is a job offer, automated references and background checks, and online contract management, and then also payment processing. So it's meant to be a very easy solution for a founder or even organizations that want to hire interim. So interim to us is different than fractional. Fractional has no end date. Interim is you need an interim, let's say maybe a chief technology officer for 6 months to help with the transformation, or you have a medical leave, somebody going on a stress leave, and you need somebody to fill in for 3-4 months. Very hard to find in the marketplace that talent. With oolu, you'll have the option to choose whether you want to hire a fractional or a interim, and then it brings that talent forward.
That's fantastic. How much time do you estimate this saves every business owner?
Oh gosh, it will save a lot because you're not going to be scouring. I'm going to say 75% of your time.
Yeah.
Like really, it's going to bring out the top talent for you. You're going to see the candidates. You don't have to pick up the phone and do reference checks. You don't have to do background checks. You're not also hiring a search firm. Now, in saying that, there is a place for a search firm. Profound Talent is still the search firm that does more the permanent hiring, that has an actual employee joining an organization. Oolu is focused on the fractional hiring, which is more a contractor in essence that is coming into an organization to help them grow and scale. So there are two different types of service offerings. My intention down the road will be once oolu grows and scales, we will probably look to say, how can we now bring that into the permanent side as well to help take some of that manual piece away and actually drive that forward to be more efficient.
Fantastic. And I'm sure you'll do a brilliant job with that portion of it as well. This is fantastic. I'm sure that there's a lot of people eagerly awaiting oolu's launch to dive in and start benefiting from it. And it's clear that you found a very unique gap in the industry and you're addressing that. What's it been like navigating development as a non-technical founder?
So the history on that is I actually was trying to build out a technology, and I had found a CTO in Toronto, and we were both doing it off the side of our desk. And quite frankly, we were getting nowhere fast. And the concept stopped. And then I ended up bringing into Profound, one of my colleagues now that has a technology background, was a president of a tech company. And we were talking about this desire to disrupt our industry that I had and this need, and I wanted to be the disruptor and not be the one disrupted. She and I got chatting, and I said, look, why don't you take this idea and concept and help me drive it forward, because I don't have that background. I was doing it off the side of my desk. Through that, we started to navigate that. Now, in saying that, it's still been a journey. Even though she came from that space, she had a lot of understanding of the ecosystem, which I did not have at all. So even understanding all the different organizations out there for granting and for support, such as Alberta Innovates or Platform Calgary or Edmonton Unlimited or IRAP or Shred Grants or all these things, it was quite daunting. And so she helped to navigate that and bring that forward. We were able to get some granting, which was fantastic. We went into market. We did find a project manager that ultimately we thought could support us in the development side. That person ended up contracting out their own development team. One of the things we neglected to ask, not realizing the importance of it, is where is your development team? So one of our learnings on this was they had contracted out a development team out of the Ukraine, which again caused us some challenges because one, there was some communication challenges and we weren't getting our product at the end state that we wanted it to be at because of the communication challenges. We also recognized later on that we could have had Shred Grants, which are tax grants, but we need our development team in Canada. So we also missed out on that. So our project, due to some of these mishaps and ultimately not necessarily the right team going forward on that, we recognized that it actually cost us probably double the money as well in getting oolu going. So we've had some learnings around that. And then ultimately from that, we brought in an amazing individual who is a CTO for us, a fractional CTO for us, who has helped us to navigate a transition from that development team to a new one, which is out of Calgary. And you probably know it well. And so from that, we are on a good path. And even navigating that, some of the intricacies of transferring that, all the technology stack into even things like, for example, multi-factor authentication was under our past developer team and couldn't get access to some of that. And so some of the challenges to just actually even transition over were a bit challenging. So I think we're on a good path now. set us back a little bit, but we plan to open up our candidate portal by the end of this month, being January 2026. And we'll be moving forward, launching our client side of the portal in, March 1st of 2026. And our MVP ultimately will be launched by that March 1st date on the matching component. And then we have big plans for oolu to continue to build it out with goal to not only be a matching platform, but also to be a community where there are going to be things launched for fractional contractors, such as health benefits, insurance that you can get on there, easy payment processing, obviously, so you don't have to handle the administration side of your business. oolu is the sales avenue so that you can find the opportunities. And we've got a lot of learning that we will be bringing onto the platform and networking opportunities as well. So we're pretty excited about it.
That's fantastic because there's a lot to consider when you're deciding to work for yourself, whether you're a sole proprietor or you decide to incorporate. And insurance is just one of those things that you have to consider that many people may not think of. So I think it's fantastic that you provide that service within oolu and to help people who are transitioning into fractional work get all their bases covered easily.
Absolutely. And the other interesting thing, that I maybe also mention, just should anybody be listening that is looking to start a tech company, is there's been a lot of learnings along the way outside of just the development team and some of the shred credits and things of that nature, just driving that business forward. Even a lot of just little things like, obviously, the contracts that you have to put in place and the legal side of it and the privacy side of it when you're using AI, for example, and the regulatory. So there has just been a lot of learnings. And even when I first started this vision, I had a vision and it has continued to increase. And then you get also scope creep along the way where you have these big visions and all of a sudden the budget keeps getting bigger and bigger. And so one of the things I've learned now is, okay, you can have all these ideas and what have you, but what's really critical to get started with so that you can get into market and start driving revenue so that you can help to continue the build out of the platform. Because if not, like for us right now, Profound Talent is actually funding oolu. We have two organizations that we're trying to balance. And so there is a lot, even just financial risk that you have to mitigate. You have to handle, obviously, all of the aspects of keeping two businesses going, one that's visionary and that's driving forward and the other that actually is a stable business that you have to keep it going. So you end up straddling two companies, and that's also been a bit of a learning as well, and time management around it.
Yes, and I think any business owner can tell you that they're usually working insane hours running one business, yet alone two. I can only imagine what your schedule must look like.
Absolutely. No, it's funny. I had somebody once say to me, "Oh, you're so lucky that you're an entrepreneur and you have your own business. You could take vacation whenever you want." I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, what vacation would that be? I probably work harder than I've ever worked.
Yes. So true. Yeah, I can completely relate to that. People think that you have this infinite flexibility and you're like, I wish. In my dreams, maybe.
Absolutely. I would say being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart, but it's also incredibly invigorating, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. But you definitely have to be dedicated. You have to have a vision. You have to have a passion, and you have to have resilience, and you have to want it. And you have to see that there's a market need for it as well. And one of the other aspects that I'm so grateful that we had the opportunity to learn this on our journey up front was really getting engaging product manager at the onset. We spent the first year really assessing the market. And in fact, we had a bit of a different idea on our platform before we even went down the path of oolu. That product manager went into market and we thought we were on a good path. And then we ended up finding a large similar technology in the US that she said had major capital funding. And she said, you need to abort this now or you won't be able to be competitive. If I would not have had done that first and we just went down that path, we could have run the risk of spending a whole bunch of money and not being able to have a viable product to market and a competitive advantage. oolu came from a pivot from that, and then ultimately a lot of research and competitive analysis and market insight to really make sure before we went into development that we had a market for this product.
Thank goodness that you got that advice when you did.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was something I was super grateful for. So absolutely. And would not have traded that for the world. And I think a lot of people don't do that. They have the idea. And I started that way with the CTO in Toronto and had the idea, hey, can you help? Let's just go. Hadn't really done, just had a had my own instincts from being in recruiting business for a long time, but hadn't really assessed out the market for it.
Yeah. And we all have blinders on too. So I think bringing in someone with a fresh perspective definitely helps. And on that note, what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs who might be beginning or halfway through their journey?
Yeah, I think I would say, first and foremost, dream big, be extraordinary, be profound. And where that mantra comes from is when I started Profound Talent, it took me 2 years to leave the stability of an organization to go out and venture out on my own. And when I did that, I started to flex that change muscle, and I started to realize that anything is possible and you can do it. And I see so many people that get stuck in careers because it's where they feel safe. And again, there's so much possibility out there, and life is worth living. And so first and foremost, somebody asked me once, why'd you start Profound, and what would you say to people? And I said, I want you to dream big, be extraordinary, and be profound. Know you can do it. Go, kind of thing. You are amazing as a human being. So go build your dream. So that'd be the first point. The second point I'd say is surround yourself with amazing people. If you are going to get into the technology space, really get into the ecosystem, lean on the different organizations that can support you. Lean on one of the things I've just been so amazed with that I haven't seen in some of the other ecosystems outside of innovation and tech. Everybody in innovation tech wants to be a mentor, wants to help you out. I even asked once, why are you helping me? Because what do you need from this? What are you getting from this? Because that's been the traditional of what I've been expecting. And they said, nothing. We just want to help. We want to give it back. We want to return this. We want to see you successful. So people want to see you successful. So lean on them to grow. And then I would say, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have failures. You're going to question yourself. You're going to have imposter syndrome. You're going to have all those things, and stay the course, be resilient, have faith in yourself, and know you can do it. And lean on people to support you and help you along the way, because you're probably going to need that little pep talk once in a while from somebody.
Oh, yes, you will. Absolutely. I think I may need it on a weekly basis.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Terri. This has been an incredible, insightful conversation. Thank you for being transparent about the challenges that you experienced, your technology journey, and now your next phase of success. Because I know that oolu is going to be just as successful as Profound Talent. And I'm sure our audience will take a lot away from this conversation. So thank you again.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me on your podcast. And I wish everyone great success that's going down that entrepreneur journey.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Why not become a podcast host yourself? LIBI is a community podcast, and we would love to have your voice as a host or a guest. Check out show.libi.ca for more information, show notes, and links for every episode.
This episode is brought to you by New Idea Machine, a unique blend of a tech incubator and a software development powerhouse. We're not just building software, we're crafting the next generation of homegrown tech wizards. Got a project in mind or looking to hire fresh talent? Reach out and let's make tech magic happen. Visit newideamachine.com for more info.
Music for the show was created by Tony Deldegan.